Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Bridgman here from the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle, and today I have someone incredibly special to share with you. Yes, 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 I do. This woman is an absolute brilliant branding genius. We tracked her down, we found her, we pulled her over to our side. She's going to join us here and she's going to talk about the strategies, the structure, the simplicity, and the clarity with which you need to make your brand sing songs to your clients and attract your ideal client to prospect to you like a magnet, like bees to honey. This woman has helped dozens and dozens of entrepreneurs successfully launch their brands and grow their communities and make a whole bunch more money. And I'm really, really thrilled for her to join us to spark off 2024. Kreda Mccullough, welcome to the show.
Hey. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here. Love that introduction. I'm about to hire you.
We're sold. Yeah. You know what,
Yeah.
Kreda? You deserve every single word of it. I looked at some of your work and everything. It's absolutely genius. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love your message. When we did our deep dive interview, we started to talk about some topics that are just, they sang to my heart deeply because so many people they want to sell people marketing services with all
Yes.
the glitz and the sizzle, and they never give them the steak, and it really pisses me off, and I know it pisses you off too. And
Yes.
so we talked about this and it was amazing. So Kreda, tell us a little bit more about you and what we're going to dive into today.
So yes, I am Kreda Mccullough, professionally known as Brand with Kreda, and like Michael said, I've worked with numerous agency owners and firm owners to not just build their brand, by the way that it looks, but to build a bankable brand, to build
Mm,
a memorable brand.
hmm
And I incorporate messaging, I incorporate storytelling. Competitive analysis, which a lot of people like to skip over because that's something that, it's like, oh, I don't care about my competitors, or social media has everybody, on this thing saying stuff like, I'm my own competitor. I'm like, okay,
That,
but
that's not the way your prospect sees it,
no, not at
right?
all.
Yeah.
Not at all. So,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. So we're going to touch on some of the sort of magical ingredients for branding that we had
Mhm.
talked about, right? Because you talked about three things to really clarify your branding and your brand story, as it were. So we want to dive into that. And
Okay.
because I know that people want to have a great brand, they want to have a brand that when prospects and clients interact with them and they leave, they know exactly what to say about that brand, about
Exactly.
that company. You know how often it comes down to I want to go and talk to somebody about this person or this entrepreneur I've met, and I can't articulate what they do. I can't tell people what they stand for, what they represent. It's like that's a brand failure. Am I right, Greta?
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. They have to know you. They have to know you in order to trust you. And that's where, to me, the storytelling piece comes in, because that's
Mm,
what makes you forget. I'm not forgettable. It makes you unforgettable. It
yeah,
leaves that lasting impression. So if people want authenticity, I know that's a word that we use a lot, and people are probably tired of it, but it's true. People want the real.
yeah. They want to know how you got to where you are, why you're doing this thing, right? So let's actually
Absolutely.
start there before we dive into some of the specifics and we give people the steak. Let's give them a little bit of the sizzle then. So, Greta, how did you stumble into this? Did you always want to do this? What was it that brought you? I mean, because you've been doing branding now for almost a decade,
Yeah,
right?
it's been almost a decade. And I started
Yeah.
off as a graphic designer.
Okay.
Um, yep, went to school, the brand, all of the branding things that they teach you in business school when you majoring in business and design. And all the marketing things they teach you, and I just decided that I didn't want to deal with that at the time, and I just wanted to be a
Mm.
graphic designer. I'm like, that's easy, until it wasn't
That's
easy.
easy. I love it. I want to do this because it's easy. Whoops.
Right.
And then it wasn't easy anymore.
It was not easy anymore because
Mm.
I wasn't people weren't they weren't treating me like an authority, if you will. Like, I'm like, I got a degree, I know what I'm doing. But I would get told things like, oh, just design this like this. And I'm trying to tell them, like, no, we need to know who is this for? Who is your audience? Who, what are you trying to convey? And I would just get shot down. So I
Mm,
was like, okay, it's time to start bringing that brand strategy magic in, and showing people that you really do need a strategy with
yeah,
your beautiful graphics or your beautiful brand. There has to be a strategy behind it, because I could see that, you have this professional brand, but what does that brand stand for? Are you talking to me in your content? Like, I could see that it's beautiful, but if you're not talking to me, then I'm going to go to the person who is talking to me, to the person who
right.
is speaking my language. So,
And
yeah,
so when we're saying this, I mean, so many people associate brand with simply a logo,
yeah,
right? Like it's amazing. You must. It's got to be almost 9 out of 10 businesses that you work with, Kreda. That's their perspective, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and
They yeah,
that's just not the case whatsoever. Nike is not a symbol, my friends. It's that like the Nike is a brand that represents the pursuit of excellence, right? Like
yeah,
that's what it represents, and they've taken decades to massage and manufacture that reaction from me about what their brand means,
yeah,
right? They've put a lot of work into training me to say that about their brand. Um,
absolutely.
so when you're talking about small businesses, though, Kreda, do you think it's more valuable that they work on their brand or less valuable than larger companies?
It's more valuable, because you want to stand out. No, maybe you don't want to be the next Nike,
Yeah.
but you still want people to know what you do. You still want people to respect what you do. You still want to get clients. You still want to run the business. You didn't just get into business just as a hobby. You got into business to make money and to make an impact.
Hmm. So what you're saying is then brand is one of the magical ingredients. We talk about like brewing up the potion of success for businesses. One of those magical ingredients has got to be your brand.
Absolutely. It's got to be the first thing before you even start to market. You have to understand who you are, who their audience is, how to talk to them, in order to sell to them. So you
Hmm.
have to build that in order to get that marketing out there. Marketing is this whole big thing. And I
Yeah.
hear a lot of people that don't understand the marketing and the advertising, but that's a whole other conversation. The bottom line here to me is that there has to be a strategy behind the brand. Like, the strategy has to be the game plan. The strategy is the game plan. Uh-oh. Am I paused?
No, I've still got you. Have you got me?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now I do. It was. You left me for a hot second. I was like, where'd he go?
Just
He
keeping you on your
doesn't want to talk
toes.
to me
Keeping you on
anymore.
your toes, Kreda. Keeping you on your toes. Um, So really, in the end, as I said, you were doing graphic design, which is kind of like the tip of the spear, and then realized that businesses didn't have the spear, right?
They
So
did not
it's
have.
yeah, it's so funny. A friend of mine, a very close mentor of mine, he had a entrepreneurial or an entrepreneur training company for a long time, and he said, you would attract entrepreneurs talking about marketing and sales and improving their revenue and leading their teams and blah blah blah. But most of the time, what you actually had to do was work on this, right? Like all of their problems were in this little 6-inch gap, right? And I'm sure you found the same thing. So you started out in logo design and graphic design, and then wound up realizing, okay, none of these people know what a brand actually is, and none of them know. Oh, I like this logo because I'm attracted to it. Yeah, but is your prospect attracted to this big huge sword? Like, like who cares what you like, right?
Right.
What is the prospect like?
Right. Right.
Love it. Okay, and so when you made this transition, was it hard? Was it hard to make this shift?
Initially, yes, because of my own personal insecurities. If I'm being honest,
Mm, okay.
I was. thinking that I'm like, people aren't going to see me as that. And most brand strategists are this and they're that and they're prestigious. And,
Sure.
I'm still going to be looked at, quote unquote, as a graphic designer. So in my Kreda mind, I like to say, in my Kreda mind, I was like, okay, this is gonna be hard, but you have to do it. For my own for my for myself. I had to do it for myself. So in doing that, I had to create messaging
Mm-hmm.
to move myself away from just being a graphic designer. It took me, if I'm being honest, it took me probably about a year for people to stop coming to me, specifically asking me for graphics or logos, because I was like, I'm not your logo designer. I'm not your
Mm-hmm.
graphic designer sitting next to you in your office, so you can just come and say, "Here you go, Kreda. Can you design this real quick for me?" I was getting a lot of that too.
Mm. Right.
So yeah, changed up my messaging, and it
So you
it
had to
was
go
it
through
was
this same process yourself.
exactly. I took
Yeah.
myself through that, and I say that a lot in my master classes and things. I'm like, I took myself through the exact same process that I take my clients through,
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to even be, confident enough to feel like I can offer these services.
Right.
Learning who I was first, then learning who my audience is, who I want my audience to be, who I want to appeal to, but I can still be my Kreda self.
I
So
love it. And it's so important because we have to remember that we're all, especially entrepreneurs, we're on this path, right? Like we've picked this particular business model or we've picked the adventure that we're going to run,
mhm.
and yet on the course of that journey, quite often clarity comes, right? And
Yes.
this is one of the things you talk about in your branding and your masterclasses. You got to get clarity. Sometimes you have to go through the mud to get to the clarity. Like it's just part of
Yes.
the journey, right? You can't start something knowing everything you need to know. It's just not possible,
Nope.
right?
I
So if
will.
you're watching this right now or you're watching the recording, I want to give you full permission to reach out to people like Kreda, right? And go, look, this is where I was with my branding and my messaging and even my offers, but I've got to change it because I realized that the gap that I wanted to fill it's either not there or I'm
Mhm.
trying to do something that's leap years forward from where my actual clients really are.
Or it's saturated.
Or it's totally saturated. Yeah. Yeah. We tend to copy, not model, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, I see a lot of that. I'm like, if I hear the same coach tell me that I don't need a strategy, I just need to believe in myself, I'm gonna lose it. I've been seeing a lot of that lately, and I'm like, no, no.
No, no. Part of, to me at least, as we dive down the rabbit hole for a moment on this topic, part of
Mhm.
me believes myself more when I have the strategy,
Hello.
right? Like, don't I need to know if I'm going to cross this river, right? I'm going to cross the Mississippi. Just jump in. Just believe that you'll do it. I would be like, heck to the no to that because, like, that is a big ass river,
Yes, it
right?
yeah, it spans across miles and miles.
Yeah,
Yes.
like how am I supposed to to swim that whole thing without training and a process and like is there a floaty midway through that I could jump on that's part of my strategy? Like how am I going to get there? No, no, no,
Right.
just have faith. Bullshit. Like I need some
Absolutely.
practical steps here to take, right? Okay, so then let's dive into the branding element of things because you talk about your branding story, right? I love
Yes.
this idea because deep down, I love the Maya Angelou quote. People will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. And so
Feel.
the way I always use that story is people are they're going to forget what you said, they're going to get all the details, but they'll never forget the story,
Nope.
right? Because the story resonates. And
Absolutely.
and so you talk about the story behind a brand. You said to me that there's three different elements to that story. So why don't we get into there? So there's these three things. You said brand, message, and voice make up
Yes.
like basically a branding story. So walk
Yes.
us through what those pieces are.
So the brand, the say the first one again, so I can go in the order that you said that it was.
So you said so the brand itself, basically
Yes,
like what your intention is, what the
yes,
message behind that is, and then what your internal voice is, like how you want to communicate that, right?
yes, yeah. So with brand messaging, there's a core message which speaks directly to what you offer. And then there's the secondary message that speaks to who you are in this offering.
Mm-hmm.
What you're offering. So that part, to me, I feel like I mean I say secondary because we're not talking specifically about the product or service, but to me that part is more important because, like I was saying earlier, people want to know who they're buying from. They don't want to just buy from a corporation. So you have to break that down, and that breaks down into these segments. There's a framework, of course, for core messaging and for core messaging, primary core messaging. I'm sorry, and then the secondary core messaging. So yeah, I really like to focus on the second piece because that goes into your value. That talks more about the values of your brand than just
Mm-hmm.
what you're selling.
Love
And
that.
then
Well,
go ahead.
and
I'm
as you
sorry.
said, like when you're a small business, Red Brick, by the way, is just saying that he loves what we're doing here. So he's just putting
Hey,
some hearts
Red
in the
Brick.
comments section. Yeah, perfect. Um, I love what you're saying because that gets back to the idea that if you're a small business and you don't
Mhm.
think branding is important, you're missing a big part of what gravitates and attracts somebody to you, which is that you are a unique individual, right? You're not a faceless corporation. You're not just a number to them. You are a client because they only have so many, right? And
Exactly.
that relationship is sparked. It's initialized by what your branding is saying because it's talking for you even when you're not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the voice, the tone,
Hmm.
that that to me is like a big piece as well. And it's all a big piece of your messaging because um it's what your audience hears when they see your offers, or they see what your content or whatever you're putting out there for them to see, any of your marketing. So your voice is important to, one, know, again, like I was saying earlier, who you are, and then two, understand who that audience is
Mm.
so you can speak to them. What attributes do you have that your audience has, that you can come together on to be able to market to them?
Love it. Love it. So let's dive into that a little bit because I don't think enough people spend time or people don't spend enough time
Mm,
understanding who they're actually marketing to.
mm,
We were just talking about your message and sort of your story through your brand, but frankly, none of that matters if it's not relating to the actual ideal client or the client that you want to make an offer to. So
right.
you do something, Kreda, in your work that very
Mhm.
few marketers do. And you and I know what that is, and that's actual research,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's
I
like
like. I am
so many people
nosy,
don't do this.
very inquisitive, and I am going to dig, dig, and dig.
Yeah. So tell us what that's about because so many people are like, oh, I just come up with a brand, I come up with a message. This is who I want to go serve. I know all these things about them. But that hinges on a whole, like a complete domino effect of assumptions that you might be
Ab-
wrong about. So talk
yeah.
to us a little bit more about this research because to me that makes you very special because most marketers I run into do very little research.
When somebody tells me who they think their target audience is,
Hmm.
that's when I go deep. I'm like, yeah, we got the demographics. Okay, there are women 45 to 55. They make $100,000 a year. They're a big
Yep.
corporate executive, et cetera, et cetera. But how do how do they feel? Like, what are their real goals in life? So now we're talking about the psychographics, right?
Yeah.
What do they read? What do they, what do they listen to? What kind of podcasts do they listen to? What are they talking about? If you see them on social media, what are they talking about on social media?
Mm-hmm.
What are their goals? What are their aspirations? What are their values? Because if the values don't necessarily match up, then they might not want to work with you. But then again, when no, that's not values, that's more of opinions or whatever. Because I know a lot of times people say, oh, we have to be like-minded and all of that kind of stuff. Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like a challenge. So I may have a difference of opinion, from you as far as maybe religion is concerned. I'm just using it as an example, but that
Sure.
doesn't mean that I don't want to work with you. It might mean that, hey, I do want to work with you because that's a challenge. You're showing me something about religion that I have not seen.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah,
Love
you got to get to know these people. You got to really get to know them, not just who they
it. And
are on
so,
the outside. You got to dig deep.
so if I'm watching this right now and I'm saying, okay, well, Kreda, where would I start? Like, if I want to do some research, I mean, besides hiring Kreda to do it, which is amazing, where would you encourage them to start? Where would you want them to start digging, as you put it?
I would actually their current clients. I would ask them to talk
Okay.
to their current clients. Talk to their current clients. Find out. Have interviews. Have client interviews so you
Hmm.
can find out about them. You probably, if they've been your client before, you probably know a little bit about them. You probably know that they like luxury. You probably know that they like Beyonce. But what's their favorite Beyonce song? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where do they like to travel for luxury? Talk to them about those types of things. I would start
Mm.
with my current clients first.
Okay.
And then I would go to my dream clients. I would look
Mm.
for, like, for example, if I wanted to work with an Oprah Winfrey, if you will, then I'm gonna look Oprah's information up. I'm gonna Google her. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look for articles. I'm gonna look for different things, and then I'm also gonna look at maybe some of her friends. Maybe the
Mm.
people who are commenting on her post, seeing what they're talking about. Everything to me is content, and everything is research.
Love it. And
So,
you know what's funny is a quick story about that. So I made the big fat bold assumption that I knew exactly who my ideal client was for my pet business.
mhm,
So right on the other side of this wall in front of me here, we have like a 6,000 square foot holistic pet wellness center that my family started a long time ago and that I've been the CEO of for many years.
mhm,
And it's a happy, successful little company doing its thing. And many years ago, though, I was really struggling. And one of the reasons I was struggling was I made this really big, bold, stupid ass assumption about who my ideal client was. Right. So I was in my early 30s to mid 30s. I thought everybody was me. I thought they were like, my ideal client was, and how often does this happen for your clients? Right. So I thought my ideal client was the busy household soccer mom asks, they've got kids and they've got, everything's busy and things have to be convenient and efficiency was one of their main priorities and all this type of stuff. And I realized after getting a rewards program into my company that started to ask some psychographic and demographic questions over time, turns out I was flat out completely wrong as far as who my ideal client was.
mhm,
My ideal client that came in, spent the most money, complained the least,
mhm. Uh-oh, we're paused again. Uh-oh. I think we're
was
paused
willing to
again.
buy raw food and all the holistic stuff. Could be my own internet. This
There
does
we go.
happen to me on occasion.
That's okay. I'm here.
Oh, there we are. There she's back. Okay, perfect. um, so yeah, as I was saying, I lost that person who spent the most was the most valuable client to us. Like one person would come in and spend between $6,000 and $8,000 a year on their dog.
Mm-hmm.
We're all basically, I call them Margarets. They're all 53 years old. right? They drove a
Mhm.
nice high-end SUV. They were
Mhm.
basically empty nesters that the dog had replaced their children, right? They were
Okay.
kind of young grandmas a lot of the time, right? That's who my ideal client was. And when I shifted my marketing to talking to Margaret, suddenly
Yes.
my grooming salon filled up. My raw food started to sell way more. The challenges that I was having from growing my company, and we had a client acquisition cost that was almost $200 for a client, and the average spend was $50, right? And
Ooh.
that's not even margin credit. That's their gross. That's not even net.
Wow.
So gross on that was like $15.
Right.
So how many times at $200 a pop to acquire a client do I have to have them come back before I make a penny?
Ooh.
The
That's
answer for quick math is a lot. Just
yeah. I was about to say, you're doing a lot of work.
right. So when we were able to figure this out, we brought our client acquisition cost down to under, I think it was under $60 within the first year.
Hey.
Yeah. But that was a big part of it, was going, who are we actually marketing to?
Right.
And who is that dream client of ours? And it's not that you don't, I always say to people, it's not that you wouldn't sell to anybody that walks through the door. That's not the
Right.
point.
Right. Right. Depending on the what you offer. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're in the pet retail and services business. You're going to
Hmm.
walk in, you want to buy dog food, fill your boots. It
Right.
doesn't matter, right? Whether
Right.
you're 18 or 82, I don't care. But
Right.
who we market to was Margaret. And the
Hmm.
more we focused on Margaret, the more my business grew. Now, that was 5 years ago that I started to do that. Almost,
Hmm.
oh no, God, more than that now. 7 years ago. Wow.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but now we've got multiple avatars for different services. We've repeated the
Absolutely.
process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A repeatable process. That part. That part. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it's a repeatable process.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if you were standing in front of me right now, and which you're sitting, but we're here, and I'm a relatively new business owner, and I'm like, okay, what are some of the key branding questions that I need to have answered? What are three different key branding questions that Kreda would send my way that I should absolutely answer?
One is you need to know, you have to have a target audience. You have to have a target audience first when it
Okay.
comes to branding. I mean, a new business owner, honestly, let me go back. I would make sure they have their foundational pieces first. Meaning whatever licenses, whatever they
Yeah.
need to do in their city and state. The reason I'm saying that is because I have a lot of people who will come to me about branding or whatever, and then they don't have any of that, and I'm like, well, no, you need to get that stuff straight first. So yes, foundational pieces in the business. Make sure that they have a business model.
Mm.
Make sure they have a business model. And then of course, have a product or service to sell. And then figure out who they want to sell that product to, or that service to. Make sure they can afford the product as well.
Hmm.
When you're thinking about target audience, you want to also include that, um, that affordability piece.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
The basics too. Now I'm going back. The basics are, your purpose, your vision, your mission, and your values.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go into the target audience piece. So yeah, I think I was speaking of just a little bit like over because of who I work with, but yeah, I think new business owner, like you said, yeah, definitely the purpose. Why are you even doing this in the first place? If it's to make money, it's not gonna last.
No. No, because quite often there's faster ways to make money, and people will gravitate towards those instead.
Yeah, especially in
You know, if
2020.
yeah, if your purpose, aka the why you're doing this business, is not strong enough to keep you on point and focused,
Mhm.
then chances are you're going to get distracted 3 weeks from now by the latest cool fad that's flowing through Instagram and Facebook, and buy some other funky thing.
Exactly. Buy another program.
Oh
Buy
my god.
somebody else's master class. Buy this because now I want to do this. This is the latest thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Kreda, this has been absolutely amazing. So, if anyone's watching this right now and they love to find out more about what Kreda does, I'm going to put um, her free branding assessment in the banner here across the bottom. So, you can see it right there. So, you can get your brand assessed at go.brandwithkreda.com/assessment. You can go check that out. She's got a little quiz assessment in there, and it can absolutely help you figure out where your branding messaging is at and what gaps
Yeah.
you've got, because sometimes we don't know what the gaps are until we take a look, right?
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
and so, a couple final questions from me to you, Miss Greta. So, if we are 1 year from today, it is January the 10th, 2025. What is a
Ooh,
big accomplishment? What's a big goal that Greta has been able to put the checkbox in of her 2024 year?
speak on 10 stages.
Ooh, I love it. Love it. Love it. So, get some stages going. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And then if people want to connect with you, do the Go brand with Kreda, right?
Yep, they can follow me on all of the socials. I'm on LinkedIn, Kreda
Okay,
McCullough, Instagram at Brand with Kreda, Facebook Kreda McCullough.
awesome. Okay, excellent. And then my last and final question for you: can we get you back on the show on a future date?
Absolutely.
Fabulous. All right, Kreda, thank you so much, my dear. It's been absolutely amazing,
Thank
amazing, amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Kreda McCullough. You are not going to find a more brilliant and fabulous branding person out there. She's an absolute genius at what she does. So, if you are stuck in any way, shape, or form, and you feel like your branding message is unclear, like if people walk away from interacting with your company and you can see their uncertainty, you can see that they're not sure, and you know that you need a polished brand, something that dusts off all the crumbs that your brand might have accumulated lately, then connect with Kreda because she's absolutely fantastic. So once again, thank you so much, my friends, for watching. I've been Michael Bridgman. She has been Kreda McCullough. You have been amazing. And this has been another episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. So go out there, my friends, make some magic happen, and I will see you on the next episode. Ciao for now.